So today we're going to start looking at the driveline here. You can see that this pinion seal is leaking badly. Back here I need to pull that also, and there's some motion in the U-joints here. And we'll come back along driveline here. We're also going to replace this bearing. That just bounces around a lot, but that, you can see that U-joint. Now you can't see that, but it's got some slop in it, and so does the one way up there. I know this is all sideways. I'm underneath the car, but we're going to pull this out, and we're going to start out by taking off, well, let's come over here and look at this end. We're going to take off this flange right here, and we'll do the same on the other end. And this should pull apart right here. That's the slip joint right there where that giant nut looking thing is, I think. And somewhere around there anyway. And the same on the front drive line. You take it off at that flange down over yonder, and all this pulls apart. I'm also going to replace that seal at the back of the transmission because it's leaking. It's kind of leaking all over the place. I need to pull the transmission, change the input shaft and output shaft seals, and then it'll be good. But this bearing, I think, is going bad. I don't know. At the very least, the housings, you know, the bushings around it, the things that keep it from flopping around are bad. And yeah, some of that's in the rear end. There's a lot going on back here, but we're gonna fix some of this. So I'm gonna start by taking out these 4 bolts right here that hold on this. And this might be balanced as a unit. I'm not sure. And someone said one time that you need to mark this and get this stuck in the same spot. I've done it before and I don't think it matters. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, so we have that one off. Took a little while because someone had used a couple wrong size bolts. So I had to grab a bunch of wrenches and try different combinations. I'll get the originals for that. Come back here. Sorry, lots of moving around. Come back here to the center, and this is that slip joint, but it doesn't slip out because there's this big old nut right there. So I've got to get that nut off. And I actually have the green book on this, and yeah, that's one of the things you have to do on this is pull out that nut. There's that bad mount right there, the rubber. I've got new ones of those. I got a new bearing for there. I've got an output shaft seal for the transmission and a pinion seal. So we'll see about getting all this in. But first I want to get out the drive line. So I'll take off this big nut here, and that should allow this to slip out. And then I can take off that end by the transmission, and that stuff slips out that way. Maybe. I don't know. I think this nut comes off here and the line comes out that way on that end. And this whole business with the bearing and everything comes out in the middle. We'll try it. Well, I thought I had recorded that. I guess I didn't, but here's the carrier bearing right here. There is a big nut there that comes off and the whole thing comes out. I got these new supports right here, so that'll be good. And then I got to take off the drive line down there. So there's a couple washers. There's a big flat washer that's supposed to be bent over on here that was not bent over on mine. It was just kind of free. So I'll bend that over. There is a grease fitting in here. I'll clean all this up and put fresh grease, nice red stuff in there and everything. And all I have to do is disconnect that flange and I've got the whole drive line out. And then we'll put on new U-joints and new bearing and all that stuff. All right, here we have the whole assembly out on the table. And this is the front end that was by the transmission. And that's actually a halfway decent U-joint on there. I'm still going to change it. And then this is the slip where the bearing goes on, right there, like that. And then this is our slip joint here, that big nut. And then we get to the center U-joint. That's it. That's all it will move. It's been moving that same amount for 60 years. Who the hell knows? And the same with this end here. It does not move but a half a degree and is all chunky. So all that obviously needs to be redone. So we'll take this all apart and put in some new U-joints. I'll probably start at the easy end here because this should slide in and out pretty easily. I think I'm gonna put some PB Blaster on these guys here to see what we can do about that. Let me pull out a new bearing here, or U-joint. Sorry, I keep saying bearing. It's a U-joint. So here's our new one here, and I got these again greasable because that's important. If these had been done, they might have lasted longer, but it doesn't look like anyone greased them. And we'll get that in. This looks like to be the same type. It's got the same side kind of circlet. This has a little different, older style perhaps. But yeah, we'll get this together. I'll put you on a stand and we'll pull this one apart. All right, pretty easy. If I remember how to do this right. Try and keep us where you can see it, but we get our snap ring pliers that are almost useless. Actually, this one I'm gonna have to bend back just a second. These are like eBay tools. Well, that might block you. I don't know how well you can see that, but I'm just pulling out a snap ring. A screwdriver in there as well. How's your day going? All right, after some great difficulty with these were great. These kind of lock rings, but this kind suck, and that's what you get now. I suppose I could go out and buy these. I don't want to reuse these. Got them out of this one. I've got everything off, but this one right here, those crappy ones kind of broke, so I'm gonna have to maybe do some cutting on that one. But we got the other U-joints out, got the caps off, but just let me show you how you do that. I use a couple, notice I put a vise in here too. But if we put a, and these are so stiff and broken. Oh my goodness. I'm going to use this side because I can't even get that side to move. And we're going to come over here, and I'm going to put this socket that just fits around the outside of the collar there. And we're going to start pushing this out. Got to use a big hammer. Someone will no doubt tell me not to use a hammer on a vise, and that's probably good advice, no pun intended. So now we got that one just about down to the end here. And then, since I don't have a press, we're using a vise. I'm going to stick this in here, and I've got this other socket that's the size of the outside here, and with a little gymnastics, squeeze that in there. So now that other collar is going to push out that side, and this side is going to push in on that. And off we go. And yeah, I can try just pushing on this. I'm losing all my tools. I can't really push that hard. So I gotta kind of bang it. I'm watching down here until that gets as far as it can go. And I think that's about it. Nope, not even. We can go a little ways more. So I'll bang on this, I'll bring it back. All right, so we got our sockets out. You can see we got this end poked out there. Now, if this weren't 60 years old, which I suspect this U-joint is, you'd be able to just grab this cap, pull it out. I can't. So again with the vise, we're going to have to grab down here because I've got a flange on this end. Come on. I know I got my vise turned a little bit weird. There we go. And we're going to grab that cap in the vise here. There we go. So we're going to grab the cap. We really want to grab it. We're not reusing it. It's turning my vise. There we go. Nope, that's turning the cap. So we did not get. How tight can we get this? All right. I know, don't bend the drive line. There it comes. And it's rusty. It's, and my glove broke. It is just rust inside. So these have been here forever and probably never lubricated, even though, you can see that. There you go. Even though these had, nope, this one didn't. This is not a lubricatable. So that got half our shaft off here. So we're doing good. So I'm going to do the same thing. It comes off there. Push this one out. It'll come off there. And then we got all these things out. I don't think I bent anything. Nope, feels good. All right, that's where we are. I'll bring it back once I get everything out, and I'm going to clean this all up, and then we'll start putting this back together. There's one part I can't get. I tell you, I keep pausing here. Inside here, there's a cork seal that goes in this nut. There's still a flange on there. There's supposed to be a cork seal that rides up and down on here, and this is the cork seal. Volvo part number 15550-7. Doesn't exist anymore. I've heard you can use a 1-inch piece of hose, because this is 1 inch here, and then it's like 1.3 inches OD, and it will slide in there and seal this up. So we might go down to the auto parts store and try that out, but bring it back when I made more progress. All right, many moons later, we've got all 3 U-joints out. We've got the the mounts cleaned up. I had a broken snap ring in there. I had to chisel out. It just snapped it with a chisel and it came out. Cleaned off everything. I've got the new U-joints here. I already pulled out the old bearing. Sorry, pulled out the old center bearing. It was in this housing. Super easy. I just put this down on, split the vise here. So it just sit down on here and then pounded it out. Super easy. The new one's going in. I'm going to, I was pounding on the rim here, not pounding, but just tapping on this rim here. I may just turn this over and tap here, but that puts the stress on the center. So I don't like that idea as much. But we're starting to put together here. So we're going to put together the center here. I'm going to clean up all this business here. I've got a couple new rubber mounts that go, on these pins here. The one thing I don't have is this little cork scrubber that goes inside of here. And you can see there's its backing plate there. Little cork thing goes in there. All that stuff goes on front of that, and that keeps grease from coming out here. It goes in to that end there, and the nipple goes through, keeps this greased. This sticks on here, it keeps grease. Oops, this sticks on here, keeps grease from coming out there. This is 1 inch in here, and this nut out here, there we go, is like 1.3 inches. So I think if I get a piece of rubber hose, like a fuel line that won't degrade in oil, I might be able to do that. I've looked around online. Part number 15550-7 is no longer available anywhere. So yeah, the modern greases don't move as that much. They're really high sling. Could probably get away without it. That's why I'm not worried if I put like a piece of rubber hose or something in there. Just got to stretch it over this because that's bigger. So we'll see what we can do. I'm just working this out. But let me get this bearing in here. Center shaft bearing. Oh yeah, I had to cut off a couple of the U-joints. That was satisfying. And they came out just fine. So I will get this bearing tapped in, and then we'll put together one of the U-joints, and we'll bring you back. All right, so how do you put this together? Well, this is sort of like Good Morning America's kitchen, because I already did one over here to make sure I was doing it right, and it worked. So we'll come down and we'll show you this end. But essentially, you put the U-joint through one shackle first and then the other one. The thing I'm going to make sure I do is get all of these lubrication nipples pointing the same direction. So when I have to lube this underneath the car, I don't have to keep spinning the drive line. If I'm in neutral and the back wheels are up, that's not a big deal, but most of the time it might not be, or I leave the brake on. Who knows? I just want them all pointing the same way. So we're going to do this center part here. I was just doing a little test here and putting this together, but we're going to connect that to this with the U-joint. And I'll show you what's going on here in just a second. Ideally, we shouldn't have to bang on this too much. The last one I had one that I had to bang on a lot, and by bang on it and use the vise as a wedge device. But I'm going to get this nearly the same way. I'm going to get this direction so that we got nipples on both ends. You can't see that end. But essentially to set this up, I'm going to pull two of these caps on. These have great grease. It stays on. You pull this off and you've got all the roller bearings in there. And that allows you, sorry about the dogs, to get this in there like that. And then you should be able to push these in, but we're dealing with, 60-year-old car stuff here. And getting them exactly straight doesn't always work. So what I tend to do is get one started here, and we're going to use the vise for that. And we might have to do a little bit of back and forth, but that's going in quite nicely. Oh, That's refreshing. No muss, no fuss. So we got one side in. We'll get the other side here. Start pressing this in also. And that one's taking a little bit of force. I'll look at it and see maybe if I push on this side a little bit. There it goes. We were just a little askew. And you want to make sure you're getting on. We're askew again, but we want to make sure that we're getting on our center bit here also. So we can slide back and forth. I'm just looking at this and seeing if we're doing anything weird. And we're not. So I'm just going to keep going. There we go. I'm not wearing gloves. That was a mistake. All right, so we got that. So we're just about flush down there. And this is where I get my socket that's almost, but not quite, exactly the same size as that. All this is impossible two-handed. Yeah, most people would use a press for this. I have no press. There we go. Slipped in, no problem. Okay, so now we got that down enough. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the ridge where our clip goes. Circlip. This is not quite a circlip. It's a spring, not spring, snap ring. And even the world's crappiest snap ring pliers can handle this snap ring pretty well. We went a little low. There we go. We're snapped in. So you can see we're lower there, which means we're going to come in the other side here. And do the same on this side. And get this. Oh, these are working so much better than that bunged up one down there. And we even dropped a little bit lower. Beautiful. I'll tell you what, that practice end before making the video was horrific. That was the one I had a lot of trouble getting everything out of. It was an original one. There, snap rings in. We got ourselves half a U-joint. Super easy. So now we got both lubrication nipples pointing up, and this end is going to have our splines on it. And so we'll do the same thing. They bend. World's worst snap ring pliers. It's still in the frame? Yeah, good. There we go. Snapped in. Actually snapped. So, there we go. That one, it's in there. I think my banging had an effect on it. But, there we go. We got our U-joint. We got both ends of this part of the drive line with the lubrication nipple sticking up. And all that's left is the transmission end. That other end, that's the differential end. And that's it. So now we'll get our third one in, and then we'll put this together the way it came out. Like I said, I've already got the bearing on. There is a hole here for the spring. I should order a spring. Didn't have a spring when I got it. Got new mounts. Got to clean this stuff up. And like I said, behind here is that cork or felt. It's not really a gasket, it's just a seal. It just helps keep the grease in. There's already a washer in there that will ride against there and do some of that, but I'm going to try and recreate that ring that was in there, whether it be of rubber or of cork or of felt. We'll have yet to see, but there we go. I'll bring you back when I'm doing some of the seals and stuff in the transmission and in the rear differential. That pinion seal, I think it's called the pinion seal, is kind of a mess. It's leaking like mad underneath there. And I think the front input shaft seal on the transmission is leaking as well, so I'll probably pull that out. I think I'll split this up into a few videos. Just wanted to show you some of the driveline stuff and how we're working on that. So this is the next end, and that will essentially be together minus a couple little parts. But thanks for joining me today. Hope you have a good one. Well, one important thing I just learned, don't put this nipple on the same side as the flange, because you can move up and down this way and you can move that way, but it's going to get pinched there and not allow full motion. So I've got to take this one out and reverse it. Not too hard because I've put them in already, but yeah, got to pull this out. Oh well.